Right now, the phone sitting in your pocket knows exactly where you are. Not roughly, not somewhere in the city, exactly. Down to a few meters, updated every few seconds, even when the screen is off, even when the app isn't open, even when you forgot the app existed. You didn't sign up for that. Or, technically, you did. You just never read the part where you did. Because nobody does. Because it's 11 pages of legal text designed to be skipped. Here's what's actually happening every single time your phone tells the world where you are, who's collecting it, what they're doing with a map of your entire life, and why deleting the app afterward changes almost nothing. Before we get into this, if you want to actually understand what's happening behind your screen instead of just scrolling past it, hit subscribe to Tech Reporter. This is the kind of stuff that doesn't get explained anywhere else, and it's only going to matter more, not less. Let's start with the obvious question. How does a piece of glass and metal in your pocket know your location well enough to find you inside a parking garage, 3 floors underground, with no signal bars showing? It's not one signal. It's 4, stacked on top of each other like layers of a lie detector test. GPS gives the rough coordinates, bounced off satellites floating 12,000 miles above your head. Wi-Fi scanning cross-references every router your phone has ever connected to or passed near, because routers don't move, and your phone remembers every one it's ever met. Cell towers triangulate your position from nothing more than signal strength, the same way your ears can tell which direction a sound is coming from. And Bluetooth, the quiet one, the one nobody thinks about, picks up beacons in stores, smart TVs, fitness trackers, even other people's phones sitting near you in a coffee shop. Combine all 4 of those signals and you don't get an estimate anymore. You get a fingerprint. A live, constantly updating fingerprint of a human being moving through the world. Most people think there are 2 settings on a phone. Location on, location off. There are actually 2 completely different tiers of accuracy hiding inside that one harmless-looking toggle, and almost nobody knows the difference. Approximate location puts you somewhere inside a few square kilometers, close enough for a weather app to warn you about rain, useless for anything more specific than that. Precise location puts you on a specific street, in a specific building, on a specific floor of that building. One of those is a courtesy. The other is surveillance wearing a friendly little blue icon. So when an app asks for permission, you're not actually being asked 1 question. You're being asked 3, and most people only notice one of them. Allow once, allow while using the app, or always, the option most apps conveniently don't show you up front, because if they did, more people would say no. On iPhone, that always-on access requires a second, quieter prompt, one that shows up later, after you've already started trusting the app. On Android, you have to go looking for it yourself, buried 3 menus deep in settings nobody opens unless something's gone wrong. That's not an accident. That's a design choice, made by people who understood exactly how friction works, and exactly how much of it you'll tolerate before you just tap allow and move on with your day. And once an app has that always-on permission, it isn't just logging a dot on a map every now and then. It's learning a pattern. What time you leave for work, which gym you go to, and how often you skip it. Which house you park outside of on Tuesday nights that isn't your own. Whether you stopped at a pharmacy, a church, a clinic, a bar, a courthouse. Your phone isn't tracking a location anymore at that point. It's tracking a life, hour by hour, building a silent diary you never agreed to keep. Now here's where this stops being about you and your phone and starts being about an entire industry you've never seen, never met, and never agreed to join. That location data doesn't stay with the weather app, or the flashlight app, or the simple little game that asked for it. It gets sold. There are companies called data brokers, names you have almost certainly never heard, Babel Street, Vintel, Near, who quietly pay app developers to embed tracking code inside completely ordinary apps. You tap allow on something that has absolutely no functional reason to need your location, and somewhere, on a server you'll never see, a system logs the exact second you walked into a building. Why would anyone pay good money for that? Because knowing where millions of people go and exactly when they go there is one of the most valuable data sets that exists in the modern world. Hedge funds buy foot traffic data to estimate a company's retail earnings days before they're officially announced, just by watching how many people walked into stores last month versus this one. Insurance companies buy it to quietly infer your habits, your risk profile, your lifestyle, without ever asking you a single question. Political campaigns buy it to map exactly who attended which event and where they went immediately afterward. None of this technically requires your name attached to it. It doesn't need to. A precise enough location history is already a fingerprint on its own, because it knows where you sleep every single night, and that alone is usually enough to figure out exactly who you are. In 2022, the Federal Trade Commission didn't have to dig deep or hack anything to prove how dangerous this really is. They simply purchased a sample dataset from a broker called Kochava, the same kind of dataset anyone with a corporate budget can buy with a few clicks, and used it to trace a single phone from a Planned Parenthood clinic directly back to a private residence. No subpoena, no warrant, no hacking, just a purchase order, processed like any other business transaction. That's the part people don't want to sit with for very long. This isn't some hypothetical data breach, some hacker in a hoodie tunneling through a firewall in the middle of the night. It's a fully legal marketplace, operating in plain daylight. The system isn't broken. It's working exactly as it was designed to work, just not for you, for whoever's buying. And if your instinct right now is to assume someone is watching the watchers, that Apple or Google or some regulator is quietly handling this in the background so you don't have to think about it, that instinct is precisely the problem. App stores don't actually audit what data leaves an app once it's been approved. They check that the app doesn't crash, that it doesn't violate basic guidelines, not where your information ends up phoning home to once it leaves your device. The comfortable myth that someone else is minding the store is the exact thing that lets the store stay completely unminded, year after year, update after update. So what can you actually do about any of this? Less than you'd probably like, but more than nothing. Go into your settings right now. On iPhone, that's privacy and security, then location services. On Android, it's location, then app permissions. Go down the list and find every single app sitting on always allow that has absolutely no real reason to be there. A rideshare app genuinely needs your location while you're actively using it to get you a car. A retail app does not need your location while it's sitting unopened in a folder on your third home screen that you forgot existed. Switch those over to never, or only while using. It takes maybe 10 minutes of your evening, and it quietly closes most of the open doors you didn't even know were sitting wide open. What it won't do is pull back the data that's already been sold, already packaged into a profile, already sitting in some broker's database next to a few 100 million other profiles that look just like yours. That ship sailed long before you ever opened the app for the first time. The uncomfortable truth underneath all of this is that your location was never really a secret you were keeping. It was a product you were generating, quietly, automatically, for free, every single day of your life, right up until someone decided it was time to start charging for it. If this opened your eyes even a little, subscribe to Tech Reporter, because this is exactly the kind of thing companies count on you never finding out. We're going to keep pulling these threads one by one, so turn on notifications, because the next one might be about an app you're using right now.